This time of year, what we start to see is the market's shifting its attention away from the old crop and now towards the new crop growing in the fields awaiting for the approaching harvest. This is a particularly interesting and useful time of the year for people to be monitoring the markets, as markets can be particularly nervous at this time of year. That's because the majority of the world's grain, particularly wheat, is grown in the northern hemisphere, and now those crops are all forming their yields and approaching harvest at the same time. And at the back of their minds, growers should really be considering what they're going to be planting this autumn, constructing pre-planting budgets to give some idea of how performance might look for 2011. I think my view is that we have within the industry is a phobia of forward pricing in the market. That's not to say farmers should go out and blindly sell everything forward without looking at the market conditions, but forward pricing, particularly pre-harvest, is a very powerful tool for farmers to use. It all comes back to how the grain market globally is structured, because we have this northern hemisphere dominance, and so in the lead up to harvest, when the majority of the wheat crop is forming its yield around the world, the market is quite nervous because it isn't really sure about what's going to produce. And then by the time we get to harvest, the market has realised there's a good, reasonable idea of the availabilities, and that's one of the big variables, how much wheat is going to be available for the next marketing campaign. It's very important to really appreciate or assess the risks as well as the opportunities in the marketplace. Recently we've seen devaluing of sterling, which has supported grain pricing, and that's been an opportunity, but really we need to address where the risks are. And it's not about guessing what the market's going to do next. When looking at a particular driver, it's about identifying what are the risk areas, and a classic example of that is looking really at some of the fund activity that we see in the US markets. We see building up of these long bought positions by investment funds, and we need to ask ourselves not what are they going to do next, but what is the real risk in the market.